You go through your day to handle things. You get things done. Then evening comes. You slow down, you sit, and you don't feel particularly stressed. You actually feel okay, maybe even a bit tired. So again, you think, tonight I should sleep. But then you go to bed and something doesn't fully match. Your body is tired, but not fully letting go. Your system feels slightly on. Not enough to say, I'm stressed, but enough to say, I'm not fully off. And that's where confusion begins. Because you look at your day and you don't see a clear problem. So the question becomes, if I wasn't really stressed, why does my body still feel activated? Because sleep problems, they don't always start at night. In many cases, they start much earlier, sometimes hours before bedtime, sometimes in the middle of the day, because your nervous system doesn't reset when the day ends. It carries information. And this is what we call the stress carryover effect. It's very simple. What happens during the day does not disappear when the situation ends. It stays in the body, not as a thought, as a signal. Every time you face a demand, your system activates. Not just big stress, small things. An email that needs an answer, a decision you need to make, a message you didn't expect, a conversation that requires attention. Each of these creates a small activation. Nothing extreme, but real. Your system prepares. Focus increases, energy mobilizes, attention sharpens. And one of the main players in this process is cortisol. It's what allows you to function. It helps you wake up, it helps you think clearly, respond quickly, handle pressure. Because here's the key point. Cortisol does not switch off instantly. It rises when needed, but it takes time to come down. And if during the day you create multiple activation, your system doesn't fully reset in between. It stays slightly elevated. Not in a way you clearly feel, but enough to influence your state. Imagine a typical day. You wake up and you check your phone. And I know you do. You see, already something requires attention. Then your day begins. Emails, messages, tasks. You move from one thing to another. You solve things, you respond, you adapt. But biologically, your system is constantly activating small spikes over and over and over again. And here's the part people miss. There is no real pause. Think of it. No real moment where the system fully calms down. You go from one demand to the next, then the next, and again. So by the time you reach the evening, your body is tired, but your system is still carrying activation. Not because something went wrong, but because nothing stopped long enough. And this is the carryover. Your mind says the day is over, but your body says I'm still processing. And this shows up in subtle ways. Your heart rate is slightly elevated, your breathing is not fully slow, your system is still a bit alert, not enough to feel stressed, but enough to delay recovery. And this is why many people say, I don't feel stressed, but I can't relax. And that sentence makes perfect sense, because the activation is not conscious. It's physiological, not in your thoughts. It's in the system. Now it's mostly continuous input. Screens, information, notifications, even during rest. Even then the system is still engaged. So instead of reducing activation, we extend it. And when bedtime arrives, we expect the system to suddenly shut down. But from the body's perspective, nothing really changed. It was active and it still is, just in a quieter environment. And this is why sleep becomes fragile. Because bedtime is not the beginning of sleep. It's the final phase of a process that started much earlier. If activation is still present, the transition becomes slower, less stable, more easily interrupted.
So, what do we do?
We ask, what has my system been carrying all day? Because that's what shapes your night. If you think about it, stress is part of functioning. But what matters is whether your system has moments to come back down, moments where nothing is required, or not. Moments where the body can shift out of performance mode. During your day, notice the rhythm. Are you moving from one demand to another without interruption? Or are there small moments where your system can actually drop? Even brief pauses. they will change the entire pattern because they allow activation to settle instead of accumulate. And when less activation is carried into the evening, your system has less to process at night, which means the transition into sleep. And that will become much easier. Not forced, not improved by effort, just less resisted. So what you take from this is simple. Sleep doesn't start at night. Sleep starts during the day. And the quality of your night is shaped by what your system carries into it.
And if you want a deeper step-by-step breakdown, the full course is available below.